There's the aspect of life mission that most people would categorize as purpose.
Hmm.
Like, why? And that's perhaps the first as a foundation, as a foundation for business, an organizing foundational skill. What the why of your company, the why of you personally as a leader, that would be maybe just the first very kind of shallow um, thing about life mission, especially in business, personally and career wise, that why am I here? What does that call me to do? And who does that call me to be? And then at the next level, that's okay within this organization as a leader, as somebody on the team, how do I how do I show up in why I'm here on the planet, why I'm in this company, maybe my job title and what that calls me to do and who I'm called to be and who I'm called to be in terms of becoming more, up leveling my skills, up leveling my ability to move vertically in the organization, all of that. That's maybe a second level. And that would be what most people at the outside would imagine. Here's my purpose and how do I move that in the company? And that's the why, what, and who, and maybe an early how. Then there's the manner in which you do that which is entirely another conversation about your life mission, purpose, vision, all those words that people have collapsed as being the same thing and they're not. So what your vision is, I would say, is what a lot of other people might also be working on. And how are you bringing yourself to that? And what's the manner in which you're doing that? Is it artful, beautiful, sacred, skillful? And that's still not really the whole of it for business. Then there's the way in the conversation, and this is another way that it's not what you might think it is. It's what most people aren't talking about, is then what's the manner in which you're bringing it, in which you're meant to bring that, scale that up, apply it to the world with a team. Because that first level how is as a person. So my place in the team, how am I bringing it? How do I co-create that? How do I co-presence and co-sense that with my team, with a sense of the greater field of the stakeholders, I guess you'd say. Right? So co-sensing, co-presencing with leaders above me and below me and the stakeholders in a way that I'm bringing a higher level of awareness, which does help me be present to the cross-cultural, cross-functional, uh, all those cross things that we talk about in all those categories. So that what I'm bringing it to it is maybe more than first, second, and third person perspective. What would it mean to bring my life mission from fifth, sixth, seventh person perspective, or even fourth? And what does that mean? What does it mean to, from a place of transjective awareness, presence to a different structure of mind, still within the context and construct of why am I here? What does that call me to do? And who does that call me to be from that higher place of awareness so that it really is the place from which we can presence life mission, not from that first level that most people are familiar with, that basically gets discounted very easily. This is a high level skill for high level leaders to bring that high level of awareness to all the challenges of business and the meta crisis we have in a way that it actually can be addressed with skillfulness. And that is a fuller picture of life mission for business, for career, for leadership. Most people treat life mission like it's the sun sign section of the newspaper. You know, the sun sign, like you're a Leo or a Capricorn, and here's your deal for the month.
I'd love to hear you, Daniel, talk a little bit more about this high level precision that can happen in developing yourself through the life mission conversations and practices. Like, what could it enable a high level leader to do?
Well,
what could they address that they
Oh,
can't if they didn't have it?
so that's an interesting way of terming it, high level precision.
Yeah.
And that's the conversation worth having in the sense that precision, or to be precise about what you're called to do and what's your very particular why is asking of you in this moment, at who you're being called to be to start and who you're being called to become, as in what skills do you need to require and how do you expand your capacity to be aware of in the cross-contextual intersection of all contradictions that's leadership today.
Mhm.
That when you have an ongoing practice, it's not a one and done conversation. Okay, what's my life mission? What's the intersection of what I'm good at, what I can get paid for, what I hopefully love, and those kinds of things? That's great as a start, as a very surface level of the start. Now, in the day to day and over time, in terms of precision and being precise about what your calling, your vocation is asking of you, that requires an ongoing inquiry and a conversation with, let's say, your job title, if that's your position, your office, your stewardship. And not one time I ask myself, what am I called to do? But and in an ongoing way, what am I called to do now? And what am I called to do now? And what am I called to do now? And who is that asking me to be? And how does that intersect with my why? And how does that affect how I bring that? So in the ongoing conversation, you have a chance to calibrate that
Mhm.
daily. If you have that as a daily practice, and you might, in the way that a musician would do scales every day to be masterful at their instrument, this would help you to be masterful in your leadership, in your place in your career, your vocation, your calling, so that meeting the intersection of all contradictions that is leadership today and the day-to-day decisions, you have a very up to the minute idea, a very up to the minute calibration
Mhm.
of what your life mission, vision, mission is asking of you in the way you're approaching today's challenges, whether that's financial or supply chain challenges or um, staff challenges or whatever the today's crisis is in business, in the meta crisis, or even this month's or this quarter's challenges. And what happened with your staff between last week and this week and what seems to be upcoming, that you have a very calibrated, very precise sense of what your life mission is asking of you now and now and now. And what, speaking of reading, what you will need to do to be ready for what the who you're going to be asked to be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, as much as anyone can be in our rapidly changing world.
So then how does a person who's shaping and building their mastery through the life mission scales and conversations, then how do they begin to work and coordinate together as a team? Because there's a place where you seem to be well, I don't know that you're addressing it, but there's something about a living system and what the characteristics of a living system are.
Well, as a leader, if you're the only one in this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
then your daily practice of the inquiry into what is my life mission calling me to do and who's that calling me to be and how does that intersection with my why and how I'm being called to bring that, you will be adjusting and calibrating that relative to your best sense of where your team is at. Of course, it would be more ideal if your team was also in that inquiry, and that would be then the team inquiry. I mean, each individual being responsible for having an individual inquiry practice where they're calibrating their mission. And then if everyone's doing that, then there might be a place for and an understanding in the culture that that's a conversation that can be out loud within the team, that people could have that conversation. Well, my sense is I'm being called to do this. And when somebody would say that, everyone would know what that means and why they're saying I'm being called to do this. And it would be grounded and practical because it would be addressing what the team is needing to be addressing within the context of a greater sense of meaning personally. And then that same inquiry would be a context in which to address the business case for what wants to happen as a fundamental organizing skill
Mm.
for business.